Naomi is a boy who loves reading. He is always immersed in the world of books, completely on his own. Because of this, he grows up with a quiet and introverted personality. One day, as he is walking home from a bookstore, he notices strange red lights spreading across the deep blue sky. Suddenly, a bizarre three-legged crow appears before him. The crow snatches the book he just bought and quickly flies away. Naomi gives chase, and eventually manages to get his book back. But at that moment, unfamiliar memories suddenly flood into his mind. Soon after, a man materializes out of thin air. The man mutters strange words about coordinates and positioning. Terrified by the scene, Naomi turns and runs. Yet the man suddenly calls out Naomi's name, as if he has known him all along. After several twists and turns, Naomi finally manages to shake him off. But the moment he exits the subway station, he finds the man already waiting at the exit for him. The man reveals an unbelievable truth to Naomi. He tells him that Naomi himself is nothing more than a piece of data, and that the world he lives in is also a virtual one. The man then brings him to the riverbank. At that exact moment, a malfunctioning drone crashes straight toward Naomi's head. The man calmly states that the drone is destined to hit him, because this world is merely a data reconstruction of the year 2027. Years ago, humanity developed a quantum memory database known as the Altair system. It records everything that has ever happened across time and space. Simply put, it is a massive database capable of recreating past worlds. The man then reveals that he is Naomi from 10 years in the future. He entered the Altair system from the real world, and arrived inside this reconstructed reality. And after all the trouble he went through to come here, his purpose is surprisingly simple: to help the present-day Naomi get a girlfriend. At that moment, the crow knocks over a box nearby. Several magazines spill out onto the ground. They turn out to be Naomi's secretly collected photo books. The girl adult Naomi chooses for him is named Ruri. Like Naomi, she also loves reading. But unlike him, she has a cold personality. She always wears a stern expression, and she never makes friends with anyone. When Naomi learns that Ruri will become his future wife, he is not particularly thrilled, because the type of girl he likes is someone cute and cheerful. However, when the adult Naomi looks at Ruri, tears begin to fall uncontrollably from his eyes. In the future, a tragic accident occurs. During a fireworks festival, Ruri is struck by lightning and killed. That is why he has come here, to rewrite the data of 3 months in the future, and create a world where Ruri survives. Because he cannot directly alter this data-based world, he has no choice but to entrust the present Naomi with this mission. Although Naomi is filled with confusion, he ultimately agrees to help. From then on, he begins calling the adult Naomi sensei. Naomi asks whether Ruri's fate will truly change if they succeed in rewriting the future data. Sensei tells him that even if they succeed, Ruri will not come back. At that time, they had only just started dating. Then the accident happened. They never even had the chance to take a single photo together. So this time, all he wants is to see Ruri smiling happily while she is with him. Even if it is only once, that would be enough. Just then, the crow beside Sensei suddenly flies onto Naomi's hand. It turns out that this hand can directly access the data within the Altair system. It has the power to turn imagination into reality. However, using it consumes an enormous amount of mental energy. Under Sensei's guidance, Naomi begins training the ability known as the Hand of God, while also trying to pursue Ruri at the same time. Having never chased a girl before, Naomi finds the task extremely difficult, but Sensei tells him not to worry. He promises to teach Naomi exactly how to win Ruri's heart. It turns out that he brought along his diary from the past. As long as Naomi follows the recorded actions precisely, success is guaranteed. Following Sensei's instructions, Naomi deliberately drops his book onto the ground. When he bends down to pick it up, his head accidentally bumps into Ruri's skirt. As a result, Naomi is slapped hard across the face by Ruri. But Sensei is not surprised at all. The next day, Naomi takes the bookmark Ruri accidentally dropped, and approaches her on his own to clear up the misunderstanding. As Ruri is about to leave, Naomi gathers his courage and asks to exchange contact information. However, Ruri seems unfamiliar with using a smartphone. In the end, she writes down an address on paper with a pen, and hands it to Naomi. After that, under Sensei's guidance, Naomi gradually grows closer to Ruri. By coincidence, they both work part-time as library assistants. This gives them more opportunities to spend time together. As they interact more, Naomi begins to realize that Ruri is not as cold as she appears. At times, she even shows a surprisingly cute side. During this period, Naomi continues practicing his control over the hand of God. Sensei tells him that he must believe he is capable of anything. Only with that conviction can he truly protect Ruri when danger strikes. After the training ends, Sensei reminds Naomi that today is a special day. Meanwhile, Ruri is organizing books on the shelves. However, she suffers from a fear of heights. Just as she nearly loses her balance and falls, Naomi steps forward in time and catches her securely. This small accident quietly brings the two of them closer. June 25th is approaching. The used book fair will become a key event in pushing their relationship forward. Sensei instructs Naomi to gather as many old books as possible. But the used book collection box set up in their class yields very little. So Ruri takes Naomi to the attic of her home. There, she keeps a large collection of books left behind by her grandfather. The two load the books onto a cart and transport them to school together. While resting along the way, they talk about the kinds of books they like. Ruri loves adventure novels. Naomi prefers science fiction. As a gentle breeze lifts Ruri's hair, the sight sends ripples through Naomi's heart. Naomi notices a book titled Underwater Metropolis. Ruri is also deeply interested in it. Without realizing it, the distance between them grows even smaller. Eventually, they successfully deliver the books to the school. The plan is to store them temporarily and later hand them over to the library. But that night, a fire breaks out. All the books are reduced to ashes. The used book fair now faces cancellation. Sensei had already foreseen this outcome. He advises Naomi to comfort Ruri and use the moment to deepen their bond. But Naomi refuses to give up. He tries to use the hand of God to restore the burned books. However, he can only create brand new copies, unable to watch Naomi's efforts go to waste. Sensei transfers all the data of the books to him. Naomi works through the night, artificially aging the books to match their original condition. The next day, exhausted, he finds Ruri and tells her that one box of books survived the fire. The used book fair can proceed as planned. When Ruri sees Underwater Metropolis, she freezes in shock. She clearly remembers that the book was burned. At that moment, Naomi, who has not slept all night, collapses from exhaustion. Meanwhile, classmates arrive one after another, bringing books they gathered from their own homes. The used book fair is finally able to take place as scheduled. When Naomi wakes up, the event has already ended successfully. Ruri thanks him and says the fair was a huge success. Seeing her grateful smile, Naomi can no longer suppress his feelings. He confesses his love to her, but Ruri shows no reaction at first. Just as Naomi assumes she will reject him, Ruri agrees to start dating him. Soon after, the fireworks festival arrives. This is the very day Ruri is destined to suffer her accident. To prevent the tragedy, Naomi does not invite Ruri to the festival. Instead, he waits near her home, hoping to avoid the incident altogether. However, strange creatures begin appearing all around him. Sensei explains that this is the Altair system's automatic correction process. Because the historical memory has deviated from its intended course, the system is trying to force everything back on track. Naomi uses the hand of God to create a book and drive away the attackers, but their numbers keep increasing. At that moment, the Altair system forcibly activates higher-level authority. Ruri, who is reading at home, and Naomi, who is outside, are both transported to the location where the lightning strike during the fireworks festival is about to occur. The lightning is about to strike. Sensei tells Naomi that he must block the lightning with everything he has. Naomi uses the hand of God to form a miniature black hole. It devours both the lightning and the attacking entities. But just as the two hold each other tightly, on the verge of a kiss, Naomi's hand of God suddenly transforms into a cage, locking Ruri inside. At that moment, Sensei finally reveals the cruel truth. In reality, Ruri did not die after being struck by lightning. Instead, she was left in a vegetative state. To save her, Sensei plans to transfer the consciousness of this world's Ruri into the real world, using it to repair her damaged brain. All the help and guidance he gave Naomi before were merely tools to manipulate him into completing this plan. After saying this, Sensei disappears together with Ruri. Sensei's world is known as World B. Naomi's world is World C. However, Ruri's disappearance causes severe data loss. World C begins to collapse. On the brink of total destruction, scientists in World B are forced to initiate data restoration, attempting to reconstruct a complete World C. Yet, Naomi of World C watches his world crumble around him. He refuses to accept this ending, and he refuses to give up on Ruri. At the final moment, he leaps decisively into the crimson light. Naomi falls into a void of nothingness. There, he encounters the three-legged crow once again, and unexpectedly, he awakens his own true hand of God. With the power of the hand of God, he successfully reaches World B. At this moment, Ruri in World B has already awakened. Just as Sensei is about to kiss her, she pushes him away without hesitation. She can sense that he is not Naomi. At that instant, the hospital room door is suddenly forced open. Outside, countless monsters fill the corridor. Only then does Sensei realize a cruel truth. The World B he lives in is also nothing more than a copied data world. The system's true target is Ruri. She has been identified as anomalous data and must be erased. At the critical moment, Naomi appears with the power of the hand of God. After resolving the immediate threat, he strides forward and throws a punch at Sensei. Yet who could truly blame him? Sensei only wanted to save the Ruri he loved. Naomi comforts Ruri, telling her not to be afraid, and promises that he will find a way. As the enemies keep multiplying, now he has no choice but to carry Ruri on his back and flee at full speed. Because he doesn't know how to drive, he uses the hand of God to create a bicycle. As the Altair system's restoration intensifies, more and more monsters are generated by the autocorrection program. To prevent Ruri from feeling afraid of heights, Naomi creates an eye mask for her. He then pedals toward a towering bridge, but a monster suddenly lunges forward and yanks Ruri away from him. Naomi immediately uses the hand of God to blast the creature away. At that moment, Sensei arrives in a car and helps them temporarily escape the pursuit. Naomi doesn't understand why Sensei is helping them. Sensei decides to send Ruri back to her original world as a way to atone for his mistakes. He says that everything he has done was simply to see Ruri smile one more time. Using a bridge formed in mid-air by the hand of God, they quickly reach Kyoto Station. Naomi begins constructing a consciousness transfer device. Only through this device can they return to their original world. Before leaving, Ruri embraces Sensei. She knows that he truly loved the Ruri of World B. But at that moment, countless monsters merge together, forming a massive giant hand. In an instant, it shatters the consciousness transfer device Naomi created and lunges toward them. Following Sensei's warning, Naomi creates a gigantic book and successfully destroys the giant hand. However, the consciousness transfer device still needs time to recover. Meanwhile, monsters generated by the Altair system crawl up Kyoto Tower and fuse into a colossal creature. Their target now shifts to Naomi. Even with the hand of God, he can barely hold them back. At this point, Sensei tells Naomi to use the hand of God to erase him. A single world cannot contain two Naomis. Only by deleting one of them can the Altair system stop malfunctioning. But Naomi refuses to do it. He wants both of them to live. Yet the Altair system's attacks grow even more violent. Just as Naomi is about to be overwhelmed, Sensei steps forward and shields him with his own body. As expected, once Sensei is erased, the Altair system ceases its self-correction. Naomi is transported directly to Ruri's side. In this brand new world, the two face each other with tears streaming down their faces and embrace tightly. At last, they share a kiss. In the real world of 2047, a man awakens. That man is Naomi. Standing before him is Ruri. At this point, let me help clarify the entire story. In truth, the story begins in a real world. At the fireworks festival, it was actually Naomi who was struck by lightning, leaving him brain dead and in a vegetative state. To save Naomi, Ruri created Virtual World B. However, World B was unstable. Within World B, the roles were reversed, and it was Ruri who became a vegetative patient after the lightning strike. The Naomi of World B, desperate to save Ruri, created Virtual World C. In the end, the consciousness of Naomi from virtual world B returned to his real-world body. That is why he finally awakened. As for Naomi and Ruri of virtual world C, they continue to live on, in an entirely new world. Love is never a one-sided act of protection. It is you overturning the world for me, and me rewinding time for you.